This is Glow by Grace, a space where I do my nails and say the things I think a lot of us feel but don't always say out loud. Stay a while. I used to have this thing where I was always waiting until I felt more confident, waiting until the timing was better, waiting until I had more money saved, more experience, more certainty that it was going to work out before I let myself actually go for it. And I called it being careful, being realistic, being smart about things. But honestly, a lot of it was just fear dressed up in responsible sounding clothes. The tricky thing about waiting to feel ready is that ready almost never comes. And I mean that genuinely, not as a motivational quote, but as something I had to learn the hard way. Because there's always a reason to wait a little longer. Always something that's not quite in place yet. Always a version of yourself in the future who seems more equipped for the thing you want to do right now. And so you wait and you wait. And meanwhile, that future version of you never actually shows up because she was always just a story you were telling yourself to make the waiting feel more justified. I think about all the things I almost didn't do because I didn't feel ready. Conversations I kept putting off, decisions I kept circling around, opportunities I let pass because the timing wasn't perfect, or I wasn't sure enough, or I thought I needed to prepare just a little bit more. And some of those things, I got second chances, but some of them I didn't. And sitting with that is uncomfortable in a way that's hard to describe. Not regret, exactly. More like a quiet awareness of what fear costs you when you let it make your decisions. I think for a lot of us, especially women, we're taught to be really thoughtful before we move, to think it through, consider all the angles, make sure we're not being impulsive or naive. And look, there's wisdom in that. I'm not saying throw caution out the window and just do everything on impulse. But I think somewhere along the way, thoughtfulness turned into paralysis, and caution turned into an excuse to stay comfortable. And I'm just not ready yet became the thing I said when what I really meant was, I'm scared and I don't know what happens if this doesn't work. The moment things started shifting for me was when I asked myself a different question. Not, am I ready? But what would I do if I knew I was never going to feel fully ready? What would I do anyway? And that reframe changed something. Because suddenly the goal wasn't to eliminate the fear before moving. It was just to move alongside it, which sounds simple, but it's actually really different from how I'd been operating. Because when you stop waiting to feel ready, you stop giving fear veto power over your life. You start doing things a little scared, a little uncertain, without all the answers lined up perfectly. And something about that, actually doing the thing before you feel equipped, that's where the confidence actually comes from. Not before, after, always after. I think we have it backwards a lot of the time. We think confidence is what you need in order to do something, but really, confidence is what you build by doing it anyway. I'm not going to pretend I've got this completely figured out. There are still things I'm sitting on, still decisions I'm letting marinate longer than they probably need to. But I'm more aware of it now. I catch myself in the waiting, and I ask, is this actually not the right time? Or am I just scared? And those two things feel the same in your body sometimes, but they're not the same. And learning to tell the difference has been one of the more useful things I've done for myself. So if you're sitting on something right now, something you keep saying you'll do when you feel more ready, when things settle down, when the time is right, I just want to gently ask, what if this is the time? Not the perfect time, not the ideal time, just the time you actually have. Because the version of you that's ready, she's not somewhere in the future waiting to take over. She's built from every moment you chose to move, even when you weren't sure. And she starts now, or whenever you're ready. But maybe don't wait too long. And I think part of what makes waiting feel so safe is that it protects you from something really specific, from finding out whether you could actually do it or not. Because as long as you haven't tried, you still have the possibility. The maybe I would have been great at that. The maybe it would have worked if I'd just gone for it. But the moment you actually try, that possibility either becomes real or it doesn't. And that's terrifying. I get it. Except here's what I've realized. The not knowing is its own kind of weight. It follows you around. It shows up at random moments when you're doing something completely unrelated. And suddenly you're thinking about that thing you didn't do, that door you didn't open, that version of your life you never let yourself find out about. And I'd rather know, even if the answer isn't what I hoped for, even if it doesn't work out the way I pictured. At least then it's real. At least then I'm actually living my life, instead of just imagining all the lives I could be living if I were braver. If any of this resonated with you, save this video for the next time you need a reminder. And I'll see you in the next one.